Hello, You-est YOU listeners. I am so honored to have you here, and I'm just so excited about today's interview. We're going to get to talk to one of my favorite soul sisters, dear friends, and just incredible woman, entrepreneur. Wait till you get to meet Ashley. So let me tell you about her, and then you will get to hear and get to know her yourself. Ashley Bernardi is the founder and media relations director of Nardi Media. Veteran news booker and producer Ashley Bernardi founded Nardi Media in 2015, which quickly became a leading media relations agency with an expertise in broadcast, print, and online press. With a strategic focus to media relations, Ashley never misses an opportunity to develop relationships with reporters and producers, proactively generate media coverage, and integrate her clients into the news of the day. Ashley has over a decade of booking and producing experience in national television broadcasting. More important than her lengthy list of accolades includes her tenure as a top booker at a national news network like Bloomberg and CBS News, and booking producer for the Washington Post. This is her passion for publicity. Her deep expertise extends to radio and television satellite media tours, booking guests for breaking news, media strategy, and managing promotion and production logistics for live shots, television shoots, and more. Ashley has helped clients grow from zero exposure to household names on the New York Times bestsellers list. Additionally, she has helped heads of state, lawmakers, celebrities, best-selling authors, nonprofit organizations, and national brands increase their exposure, credibility, and awareness through strategic media placements, which include placing clients in top-tier publications and media outlets such as the Washington Post, the New York Times, Today, Good Morning America, CBS This Morning, NPR, Fortune, Business Insider. Oh my gosh, the list goes on. USA Today, People, Time, CNBC, Bloomberg, Women's World, Family Circle, First for Women, and hundreds more. She is a sought-after speaker and regularly featured expert in the media, including WJLA-TV and WTTG-TV in Washington, D.C. Ashley is also a mama of girls. She has 3 girls, and she lives in a gorgeous, beautiful, nature-found place with an incredibly old tree. We'll go into that. And has also dealt with a lot of healing, which we will talk about. Okay, and lastly, Ashley is one of the kindest, most generous, gracious souls I have gotten to meet and has become a very dear friend of mine. And I'm just so flippin' excited to have you here, beautiful lady.
Thank you so much, Julie. It is such an honor, and thank you for the lovely, wonderful introduction. And I'm so excited. I feel like we're just gonna be 2 friends chatting. So,
oh,
great.
Totally. Well, I know. I feel like everyone listening is like, "Hey, you just get to eavesdrop in our conversation for a little."
Yeah,
this is like, yeah. You know, it's amazing because I remember, if I could just share really quick, the way we even met was just serendipitous. You were representing this woman with an incredible book and story. And I happened to be at Barnes & Noble's with my book with Karen Franca, I believe, at the table at the same time. And I was like, how did you do this in your book? And she's like, oh my God, I have the most incredible woman that I work with. And she was like talking about you and talking about you. And I remember I literally, no joke, shouldn't have done this, but I think as I'm driving out of the bookstore at the end of the night, I'm calling you, and I left this long ass message, you don't know me, but I feel like I know you. We got to connect. And you were just, I remember when you called, I was like, oh my gosh, you have all of this experience and wisdom and accolades, and yet you're one of the most down to earth people. And I'm grateful.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. I'm so grateful too, because I'm grateful for Karen to introducing us, but also I just consider you such a dear, close friend. And not even on a publicity, we could talk about PR all day, but a spiritual friend and a mentor and a collaborator. And I just feel like every conversation we have is epic and enlightening. And so even this one, so it's an honor.
Oh, I'm all right. So I'm going to continue the love fest, but I do want to make sure I keep going because I really do feel that way. And I think actually where I'd like to start with you, because I think this is important. I've said this before. It's very easy when you hear someone's list of all the things they've done. It can just seem like, oh, they've got it made. It's perfect. It's easy, no problem. And, no one yet knows your story and journey, especially with the healing that you've done. And I think I would love to share as much as you're willing to talk about with your own healing journey,
Oh,
with
sure.
Lyme's, and like what, and how that's opened you up spiritually too.
Oh yeah. I mean, we can just dive right into that. I mean, so as you said, I was a network TV producer, really living a very fast life, meaning that like I was never stopping to just become aware of my surroundings, of who I was hanging out with. I lived in New York City and everything was go, go, go. I was traveling literally the world, covering breaking news stories, not sleeping, not healthy, not even eating well because I was working so much. I was a workaholic. I mean, that's anyone who has been in journalism understands that we work 24/7 because the news cycle is 24/7.
Mm.
So, I didn't really get a chance to know who I was until life stopped me in my tracks, and I physically could not step any further. And that didn't happen until years later after I got married, I got out of the news business. I had two children at that point. I have three young girls now. And I just suddenly became extremely sick with flu-like symptoms that no one could figure out for almost a year. And I actually ended up giving birth with a mystery illness. No one had any clue what I had. I feel like deep down I had started doing some soul searching and I knew, but when I delivered my third child, I almost died. And even that day that I had delivered her, my blood pressure dropped in the hospital. There was talk of a potential transfusions. They still sent me home a couple days later, and I had fevers. I wasn't getting any better. I had headaches, and then I kept getting progressively worse and worse and worse, to the point where I had three children at home, a husband back at work, and I couldn't get out of bed because I was too dizzy, too sick, too weak. Headaches, fevers, just nothing. So finally, after months and months, I mean, I was so depressed. There was a time where I felt like dying would be better than living. Not saying that I wanted to do something about it, but there was a time where I felt that I would be better off. My family would be better off if they didn't have to deal with me. But it was at those low moments where I started to discover myself, like when it was a sign from the universe that I needed to pay a little bit more attention to me. And the first thing that I learned was that I was putting my self-care last, always, 100%. I was always working for the newsroom, working for my clients, working for the company, making sure my husband was happy with meals, making sure my kids had homemade food. I was literally driving myself dead. So one of the first things I did was just starting to do things for myself. And that first thing was just rest. Ashley, rest. That's what you need time to heal. You can't do all the things. If you guys don't have a home cooked meal, it's all going to be good. Order out. And I had this idea of perfection that I had to let go of, that truly spirit was forcing me to let go of. So along this journey, which I'm happy to share other things that helped me heal, but it was discovered that after probably over 30 doctors, actually, that's not a joke, 30 doctors.
Wow.
I was diagnosed with Lyme disease, and I was like, I knew it. I've been saying that to so many people, and I even have been telling doctors that's what I thought I had, and they told me I should have gone to see a psychiatrist or a therapist. And I can't tell you, for anyone who's had a health crisis and has had to be an advocate for themselves, it is the hardest thing to do. And when you are sick and you look okay, but you feel terrible, and they're like, oh, you're just a young mom with 3 kids. No wonder you're exhausted. No, I couldn't drive because I was so dizzy. So anyway, this miracle doctor, she listened to my story. My husband was like, let's just try one more doctor. So I said, fine, but you've got to come with me because these are so demoralizing. I can't take one more doctor telling me that I'm fine. Right. She listened to me for 45 minutes and looked at me and she goes, you have Lyme disease and I'm going to treat you. And I was like, I just started crying. And I had to get a procedure with a PICC line and like a line, like an IV line, and from my arm all the way to my heart. And we had to move in with my in-laws, and because I couldn't care for the children and I also couldn't lift anything and I had a baby. So my daughter, the youngest one, was maybe 5 months old at that time. And we lived with them for 8 weeks. I was only supposed to have the PICC line for 2 weeks, but it kept getting extended because my healing was so slow. But after 8 weeks, I started feeling better, and it was the slowest process. But what I did in that time that I was physically healing, because like physical healing is not the only component of this. The first thing I had to do was spiritually heal myself. And that's where it started. It started by, it started with prayer on my family room floor, crying out to God, like, I give up. I don't know what to do. This is out of my hands. This is out of my control. This is all you. It also started with a lot of journaling, a lot of intuitive journaling, sacred writing, as you and I call it. It started with meditation and starting with doing meditating for 1 minute a day and working myself up to 30 minutes. It started with yoga. So like my physical body could not handle very much at all, but just the gentlest of yoga. I even joined while I was sick. I joined my church choir because I felt like I couldn't physically do anything, but I wanted to sing. I don't know. There was this voice inside me that was like, go sing. So there I found the church community and was singing more. And that was really beautiful because I was able to see like the beauty and the smallest things in music and my children. And I slowly, after several years of sickness, walked myself out of this, but it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't spiritually healed myself first. I believe that I would not have physically healed if I had not spiritually healed first.
Wow. I know. No, I think, what's so fascinating to me is like, and I think anyone listening is going to really, really relate to this, is that you'd pushed yourself beyond what really it was in the realm of what's possible. And your body was like, I'm so sorry. This is like, we can't handle this.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
Because like we're type A, I'm type A. And so I always had that mentality of go, 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 go. I don't need to rest. I don't need to sleep. I don't need to eat. I wasn't doing anything for myself. I wasn't nourishing myself.
Right.
Yeah.
It's fascinating too. And I relate. And I love what you said that, while thank goodness, first of all, for your husband recommending like one more doctor. I mean,
more doctor.
Yeah. One more doctor. And then going and getting, I'm sure the flood of relief to be like, oh my God, I finally know what that is.
Yeah.
To know that it's
have it labeled, to have somebody else label it, not just me. Because I was like, I know what I have. I've done the research. I'm a former journalist. Like, you can't tell me I haven't spent hours and hours and hours researching this. I basically self-diagnosed myself after being so sick for a year. But it was just getting that validation from an MD, from somebody like who has that credibility, and not being told that I needed to go see a shrink. It was the biggest relief ever. I was like, I don't even care if I never get better. Just the fact that you're telling me this is what it is.
Right. Like there's an answer.
Yeah.
And I think it's very interesting too, to know that, the healing, we think of like, okay, our body, take a pill, but it's like, no, actually it's the spiritual, it's the emotional, the healing of the rest. I mean, I'm like, oh, rest, for, that resting. But then you even said like, get just surrendering, and then gentle, like it's the opposite, I think, of how most of us are raised, are programmed.
Yeah, you have to surrender to the emotions of whatever you're feeling, and like know that it's okay to feel it, and it's okay to release it and ball it. Like even like now I've been doing yoga every day in the face of COVID and all this change that we're going through. And there are days when I cry on my yoga mat, and I don't know why I'm crying, but it's the release my body needs. So I surrender to it. And it's so good to do because I'm so much more in tune with this.
I love what you said. That honestly, I'm like, I need to just pull that out as like a quote. Just you surrender the emotions. I mean, really, I've had this too, and I'm like, why am I crying? What is going on? And it's like, it doesn't matter. Who knows? Your
soul needs the release, and so just let it go. You don't need to wonder why it's releasing. It just let it go. I'm like, let the release flow. It's so much like yoga. Just let it flow out of you in the same way that it came into it. You're releasing this energy that no longer serves you.
Oh, I love that. That is so powerful. So tell us, okay, so then, and I know then you went into like a lot around how you ate and how you, I mean, you had to restructure your whole life.
I restructured my entire life. I was reborn. The Ashley Bernardi of 2014 or 15 is a completely different Ashley Bernardi of the one of 20. Isn't it amazing
Wow.
how much a person I have changed completely. So yeah, I changed my life. I eat better. I'm more I'm more aware of every single thing I do. I'm present. I stop and I breathe. I remember when I was sick, one of the tests that they did was a cortisol test, which is a stress test. My stress was at like the highest, most dangerous level. And I was like, I don't ever want to be there again. So breathing, deep, like it's so simple, but deep belly breathing, that like slowing down those, what is it, that parasympathetic nerves, like that's what you want. So breathing deeply, changing my lifestyle, disconnecting, stopping to stop watching the news all the time, journaling more. Like these are all things that I had to change in my lifestyle after I started healing. And I still feel like in many ways, I continue to heal every day. I remember like my body and mind and soul will not let me forget, will not let me go through this and not forget it. So I feel like I'm being held accountable in a way, because anytime that if I get too stressed, because this happens, we're human. I'm type A, former journalist. It's going to happen. If I eat where I'm not supposed to, if I stop working out, I feel it. I feel it mentally, physically, spiritually. So spirit does hold me accountable for this gift that I've been given, because it is a gift, and that's how I see it. Lyme disease was my greatest life gift and lesson.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm like, when's the book coming out?
We've been talking about that. I know. I'm like, I've got some other books in me. I will prioritize.
Yeah. So many books. You talked about the sacred writing and intuitive journaling, and it's something I know you and I've talked a lot about, and I have really been just sharing more and getting more into intuition, because I think it's as, what is it, Gary Zukav, who wrote The Seat of the Soul. I mean, it's like the GPS.
Yeah. Yep.
How have you noticed, I mean, you're highly intuitive. I would think empath if you categorize yourself.
I am.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So because I'm sensing like this awakening also must have awakened that part of you, and how has that shown up, and how has that like changed the direction even of like your business and your work and like who you are in the world?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, so like with sacred writing, I first learned how to do it through our friend, Leanne Taylor, and it was mind blowing. I mean, it's essentially like just tuning in and not thinking and just starting to write, and maybe it's not even writing. Maybe it's like drawing circles on your page, right? Until something actually comes out and you just let it go. Don't think about it, let it go. And then looking back and being like, wow. And if you need a prompt, you can ask yourself, okay, spirit, guides, God, what message do you have for me today? And that's it. It's as simple as that. And you just let it flow. And I learned so much from doing that. I journal almost every day, or I'm at least trying to. And I also write down what I'm grateful for every day, because gratitude is like something that fuels me and makes me stronger. I've learned recently, it's like one of my core strengths. So like continue to be grateful. So writing down my gratitude list. How that has shifted my business. I have learned to put such better boundaries on my work. Before, I was always wanting to serve my clients. I'm a people pleaser. I am a perfectionist. I admit this. Like, I want my clients to be happy 100% of the time. I want everyone to think that the work I do is awesome 100% of the time, because I know it's awesome. So because of that, I was working constantly. Even owning my own company, because I'm like, I want to do this. I want to get this done. I want to get this pitch out. I want to do it. And I just need to like stop and walk away and put boundaries on it. So as an example, like this is what I do now. Like last night, someone had a bunch of TV interviews the next day, and they needed all this stuff. It was like 6:00 at night last night. And I was like, I'm not going to get to this until tomorrow morning. It can wait. Like, we're not doing brain surgery here. I wake up early. I'm going to handle it at 7 a.m. And they're like, okay. But the old Ashley would have been like, okay, let me just drop everything. I will get it done. I will neglect my children. I will like whatever, not care for myself. And instead I was just like, no, I'm not going to do that. That doesn't work for me. And here's what will work for me. So being really firm with boundaries has helped my physical healing come a long way, because it helps me stay in line and not over promise and overexert myself to people, because it's so easy to do when you're a people pleaser.
So easy to do. You know, it's funny, the recent episode, we both know Nancy Levin, who wrote about boundaries.
Love
And I'm like,
yes.
I know, I love her. And I was listening. I'm like, I'm still working on that. I'm still working on the boundaries thing. But like every time you do it, it gets more solidified. And to see that difference, like I know, because we've talked about this over the last few years. I mean, I'm okay. I'm getting better at it, but especially having kids, it's not always easy to do that. Good for you for like, it just feels like you said, Lyme's has been a gift. And I can see how like, it's shifted everything. It sounds like all of the priorities, all of the way that you take care of yourself, honor yourself now.
And I think that's it. I honor myself. I love myself now, whereas before I don't think I did, or I just didn't know how to love myself. Yeah. Now I really love myself. Like, yeah, I'm older and like, it's sometimes like harder to work out or dance and like do the things I love, whatever. I love myself more now than ever. And therefore I'm going to take very, very good care of myself. And I know my limits now, and I put a stop to them in their tracks when I feel like my personal line has been crossed.
Oh, that's beautifully said. Oh my gosh. It's such I think, Ashley, the pivotal moment is when you can start to really come back home. I mean, for me, it was abandoning myself at all the time. I just would go to, it sounds like you did the same, but you realize like, you know, this is the house we live in.
That's it. You're right. It was truly, I had abandoned my true self.
Yeah.
A lot of it I also did was just like they always say, like, think about what you did as a child and what made you happy. And that's when I was healing, was like, well, music, dance, writing. So I guess I should be doing more of that. And guess what? I am. And I'm like, it fuels my soul. Dance fuels my soul. Writing fuels my soul. And I'm not saying that works for everyone. It works for me. Yeah. And I had rediscovered that when I was ill, but even more so now, because I'm feeling so physically great. I'm able to dance. I'm able to do yoga. I'm able to do the things that I loved, that I was put on this earth to do. And I found it again.
So amazing. How have you had any, what do you call them? Setbacks or times where like, have you had to change the way you eat? And yeah.
Yeah. So I'll call it a Lyme flare. I like to blame it on that, even though I know it's like I've reached my boundaries. I've overexerted myself. Yeah. I do have setbacks. And if I let myself get the best of it, I get like, to be honest, like depressed. I'm like, oh God, because my fear is that, is this going to last as long as it did the first time? Right. And so it's like, I have that fear, but then I tell myself, you have overcome, Ashley. I am an overcomer. I'm going to be okay. This is temporary. And that's the other thing that I love telling people. Like, if you are ever going through any sort of adversity, and I feel like we all are right now in the face of COVID, this is temporary, Julie. This time that we're living in right now is not going to last forever. And that's something that I told myself when I was in the throes of Lyme disease. And even if I didn't believe it, I would write, this is temporary. This is temporary. And that's something that helped carry me through. And it helps me today too. If I have a setback, if it's a job setback, if it's any sort of relationship setback, if it's a physical, Lyme setback, I tell myself it's temporary. And that just changing your mindset in that way changes everything.
Oh, I love that. You said two things, actually. I want to to write, this is temporary. And the truth is, it really is. It really is.
Our lives are temporary. Everything here is temporary. Everything is
temporary. Right. I know when we talk about things change, there's been obviously a huge amount of change with the pandemic, and it's like, something, I mean, I always use nature, go out there, things are changing every moment. You couldn't find a moment that's the same where something's not changing. So it's like, that's part of it. But I love what you also said. I'm like, oh, be an overcomer, not an overachiever.
Mm-hmm.
Be an overcomer.
Everyone, you are an overcomer. You're an overcomer. Tell yourself that when you get scared. And look, I am human. When all this coronavirus stuff was happening, I had major fear and anxiety. You know, you and I talked about it, Julie, but remember, we are overcomers. We have been here before. Our world has faced pandemics before, right?
Oh, yeah.
I have faced Lyme disease before. I can overcome. It's like, and honestly, I'm not even worried, if that makes sense now. Like,
Yeah.
I know it's all going to be okay.
Yeah, we have Ashley and I have a mutual, this is a whole longer story, but we have a phrase that we both came to separately. Remember, all is well.
All is well. All is well. It's in my journal all the time, all over my sacred writings. All is well, all is well, all is well, all is well. It's all going to be well. Tell yourself that.
Exactly. Tell yourself that. Exactly. I'm curious what you think is the spiritual lesson out of what's happening now, or what do you think's happening on in the spiritual realm or level? Like, we're just going to go there because it's really fun. And this is what we would talk about anyhow. So I'm like, let's talk about that.
Okay. So what's happening right now, like in the face of the virus and the pandemic?
Yeah. Just curious what your intuition or your feeling is about some of the lessons, or maybe even the gifts, or both as the globe, and then maybe even what the lessons you're getting for you, your family, your work.
Yeah. So I love this question because I've been thinking a lot about what we're getting out of this and what our lesson is. We are arriving home, and this is very uncomfortable for a lot of people getting stuck. Like, everyone is so used to phone distractions, friends. People actually now have to sit alone with themselves, which they haven't done in a very, very, very long time. But it's when you are alone with yourself is when you learn the most about yourself. And so we are all coming home to ourselves. So it should be a lesson to us that we can all come out of this either changed or unchanged, but I hope you come out of it changed. And I think I posted something like a quote about that on my Facebook page a couple weeks ago, but this is a time to come home to yourself, look within, find out, create the space for what you really love. Like, I can tell you, like, my life I've been stuck at home, but I also very blessed to have a beautiful, garden and land. But my husband and I have never been happier. My children are happy. I'm spending more time in nature than I ever have. I'm doing yoga every single day. I'm dancing again. I'm writing again. I am feeling more connected and more creative and more inspired than ever before. And it's because, my husband and I were talking, we don't have to rush around to kids' activities. We don't have to rush around here and here and here. There was so much rushing around. And now I don't even want to return to that world. I like what we have right now. And I want everyone to just know that too. Like, I'm so grateful and so appreciative of what I have right now. And that's what this lesson of the pandemic has taught me. And I know we still have a long way to go, and it's very uncomfortable and it's very scary. And yes, I have lost friends and colleagues to this pandemic, and it's sad, but we're going to be okay. It's all temporary. So that's the lesson. But I could probably talk about that for hours, because I definitely think that it is an opportunity for everyone to connect more with spirit too, if they're really willing to listen and go there. And spirit looks different for everyone. My husband's spirit is nature, and his spirit is fire, and staring into fire, or walking amongst the trees. And he has a tattoo of a beautiful tree on his leg. That's his spirituality. So, like, my spirituality, your spirituality, his spirituality, it looks different. But what a great time to have all this space to discover what spirit means to us.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. I'm like, I know we have to wrap up soon. I'm like, maybe we need round 2, because there's a lot. That is, it's really beautiful. I know I felt like we've got to ask you this question, because I wanted, it's so powerful what you said. I mean, this is an opportunity, and you said it this way. I love what you said, that, you can come out changed or unchanged, and it's not too late, because honestly, I think we're going to have a lot more time of this. So, you could start now, like really, sacred writing, just start now.
It's never too late to start. Like, it's sacred writing, taking 1 minute to meditate, taking 30 minutes to meditate, spending time in nature, figuring out what makes you feel the most spiritual, because it looks different for everyone. It might be staring at water. It might be a bath. It could be anything. But what is that? And then just really listen within. I mean, that's really what this podcast is all about. Like, your you-est you. And for me, it's about like really looking and listening to that quiet voice within.
So beautiful. I just want to, before we do wrap, I know you still have your business that you're doing, which is like, you've helped me. I mean, you're just like, I don't think you guys understand, like, Ashley, you literally are, I feel like you're like this ninja, badass, like PR, you just, I don't even understand how you do what you do, but like who you've worked with, how you help people to really get their message out and impact. And one of the things I know you've been doing, which I think is so freaking awesome, are these workshops where you're like teaching people how to be on camera, how to, and I love your commitment to just help and to be of service and to do it in a way that is good for you and that is honoring your boundaries. I think it's because I know you're doing and you're giving a lot, but, and you're taking care of yourself, which is such an important message to do both, like, and care for yourself first.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And the workshops have been so fun. They've, you know, my friend Anna and I, my colleague, my podcast co-host Anna, we were thinking of a way, like, what can we do to help people right now? What do people need? I wanted to be of service. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I'm not on the front lines. I don't work at a grocery store. So what could we do? And we were like, well, everyone is stuck at home right now and and everyone is now learning they need to communicate virtually on Zoom, on video. And so I was like, well, I can teach people how to get their message in line so that people understand it and they can communicate it clearly in a virtual setting. And Anna was like, well, we can help people get their backgrounds fixed and their lighting and have them look, feel, and sound great on camera in this new world we live in. And that's how this workshop was born. And we've had so many so far. The last one we just did this week had 40 people in it. And so it's definitely, I feel like I'm now being of service and helping people. And so in that way I'm fulfilling, you know, that part of my heart that felt like I needed to do something.
So cool. Where can we find those? Just so people that want to.
Yeah, just visit nardimedia.com and all the information is on there.
Awesome. Yay. No, I love that you're doing that. And honestly, it's like such an interesting new world. I will say I was part of I led a small virtual retreat. It was supposed to be a retreat we did in Asheville for 4 days. Let me tell you something. We ended up condensing it. We just did a mini, like a 2.5 hour, like total mini version virtually. But you know, we were joking, like no lines in the bathroom. Like you can take a break when you need, like if you want to wear the same leggings every day, like there's some real benefits to this.
There are some total benefits. Like I wear like cute tops with yoga pants and shorts all day, every day. Like it's just fine.
Totally. I know. I told my husband, I'm like, you know, I'm glad that you're not getting sick of the same, you know, I just circulate the same. I actually have a lot of those and I'm like, trying not to get bored, but I'm like, truth is they're so comfy. Like, why not?
Yeah, that's fine. Just, I wear like the same shirt every other day because it's so comfy and that's what it is. And my hair is going to be down to my knees and that's also okay too, because when it's all done, I'm going to donate it. My kids' hair, like it's just, this is fine.
Oh, that's a great idea. That is a great idea. You have such a beautiful heart. You're always about, I love the way you emanate from your heart, live from your heart, and just try to give and be of service and uplift and bring in, you know, the sensitivity of being an empath and spirituality. Like you're just such a special one. You really are. So grateful.
I feel the same about you. This has been so much fun.
So fun. All right. We have 30 seconds. Any last words of wisdom, something that's like heart flare, I call them. Anything
okay. Yes. I like this. So are you familiar with Viktor Frankl?
Oh, yeah.
He has been on my mind through all of this, and I've actually been reading his book, Man's Search for Meaning. But I keep a quote that from him on my desk in front of me. And I want to read it because I feel like it is so relevant to the right now. So it's between stimulus and response, there is space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So I feel like right now we have an opportunity because we have so much space to grow. And if anyone here hasn't heard of Viktor Frankl, I highly recommend you look him up. He's a famous Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist. And his book, Man's Search for Meaning, is incredible. But that's my wisdom that has inspired me at my work every single day and what I'd love to share with your listeners today.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh. Perfect. I thank you for being here. Just thank you for being you. I love and adore you. And I think that quote is like, it's funny. I go back to that all the time. That moves me. It's just for someone to go through that and be able to, or like a Nelson Mandela and to go through his experience, like we've got this.
We've got this. It's all temporary.
it's all temporary. Mwah. Thank you, honey.
Thank you, Julie.